It's safe to say most people are aware of the classic 5 M&M's characters, also known as spokes candies. Many people probably also know of Miss Brown and, to a lesser extent, 2022's Purple. What most fans and consumers probably don't know is there exists many more M&M's mascots outside of the core 7. How many exactly? That's what we're here to find out. Instead of covering the entire history of the candy, or even the history of the core 7 characters, we instead are going to focus on all the weirder, more obscure M&M's characters that no one ever discusses. By searching through every commercial, video game, toy line, comic, and print advertisement, we will be able to track down every single one. Starting with, instead of looking at one specific character to start, we will be going over a group of mascots deemed the pre-Spokes Candy M&M's characters. Why do this? It gets complicated, as you'll see. Despite the commonly stated fact that the M&M's characters were first seen in 1954, 13 years after the initial release of the candy, it was actually within the 40s when the brand was first seen being represented by anthropomorphic chocolate. The exact year these skinny neck OGs debuted isn't clear, but we know it was prior to 54, as the only two characters seen are meant to represent purely plain M&Ms, despite the brand later rewriting history with a yellow character as seen on the 75th anniversary wrapper. 1954 is the year peanut M&Ms dropped, alongside a new design for the mascots, this time looking more like what we're used to today, one plain, one peanut. The brand would continue to alter the designs several more times, going back and forth with art styles until the 1970s hit and we received this look, which isn't too far away from modern day. From here on, continuing through the 1980s and up to the year 1995, designs would be altered here and there, but it's that year 1995 where there's a hard demarcation line for old era M&Ms versus new era. This is because that year brought this commercial, which features the final designs for yellow and red. Before that dropped, distinguishing who's who character-wise is impossible because this pre-95 era is filled with every color in every shape, none of which have set-in-stone personalities. It wasn't like red is plain and yellow is peanut. For the colors red, yellow, orange, green, and brown, there was a plain and peanut for each in some capacity, whether in a commercial, toy, or print ad. Also know that there were no females during this time period. All were honestly genderless, but it's just interesting to point out how some colors that are traditionally depicted as females today are obviously not here. This idea that any shape can display any color occasionally happens in the modern era, but only as a commercial gimmick or limited time promo joke. Besides this group of pre-Spokes Candy M&M's characters, we will never see this interchangeable concept return. During this period of mascot experimentation, colored legs and arms can be seen, uniquely shaped peanut bodies are occasionally spotted, and some characters even take the role of lead representatives like Orange and Green. Despite the pre-95 era of M&M's characters not being that well known now, they appear to have been pretty popular back in the day, as there is a lot of related merch and collectibles out there featuring the generic plain and peanut pairing. Leading up to the 95 design lock-in, many American and foreign ads featured CG M&M's characters that again aren't unique personality-driven mascots, but are visually pretty close to the designs we're familiar with today, some way more than others. As a way of paying tribute to all the designs prior to 95, Mars released a commercial showcasing every old character within their set time period. Like shown earlier, they also returned on the wrappers for the candy's 75th anniversary in 2016. Something you'll see a lot of, especially in the early commercials, is the M&M's characters existing without their candy shell, leading to them looking naked. That same occurrence still happens today, but it's played more as a comedic gag and less of a way to show consumers how the candy is made. Despite their unique appearance, they're just the same old characters with a slight cosmetic difference, so they aren't being counted separately. What is being counted are their peanut counterparts. In order to demonstrate the chocolate coating method of peanut M&Ms, many advertisements showcase a sentient, separate peanut. He is being counted because of the frequency in which a roasted peanut is shown existing by themselves. Instead of counting him as another character on the M&M's timeline, he is the first to enter the M&M's Extended Universe roster of characters. Anytime we come across any cartoon, non-human, non-animal, non-crossover character in the M&M sphere that isn't a piece of chocolate coated with a candy shell, complete with a printed-on M, it will instead be placed on this alternate timeline. For the Roasted Peanut, he too has had many design changes over the years. Throughout his early days, starting with his debut in 1954, he is almost always seen as a sunbathing nut who is then dunked into chocolate, again as a way to demonstrate to consumers the layering process. The Roasted Peanut can be seen all throughout the candy's history, sometimes even as a goofy solo character attempting to audition for selection. Seen in some of the weirder foreign ads are examples of Yellow stripping down to reveal his peanut center, which is off-putting in some hard-to-describe way. Seen alongside the pool-plopping peanut is the Roasted Almond character, a less popular but nonetheless countable entry into the M&M's Extended Universe timeline. Similar to his fellow nut brother, the Roasted Almond again purely exists to showcase the making of an M&M's candy spin-off, this time of course M&M's Almond, which debuted in 1959 alongside this mascot. Unlike the peanut, the plain Roasted Almond solely exists within old black and white advertisements. Another Extended Universe character from that same 1959 commercial is the M&M's Chocolate Wafer Bar Spoon. Yes, we are counting this obscure one-off, fast-working spoon as a non-M&M's Candy EU entry, as a way of showcasing the 7 layers of flavor found in the highly obscure 1959 short-lived M&M's Chocolate Wafer Bar. The smiling spoon figure can be seen placing wafers and spreading chocolate, notably using a non-sentient knife. Despite the non-human rule, this is the one exception to that. Debuting in this 1975 animated commercial is the M&M's character known as the M&M's Candies Man. That somewhat janky name is sometimes abbreviated to the M&M's Man in order to fit into the lyrics of the 1970s hit song The Candyman, originally from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
The M&M's man, the M&M's man, the M&M's man, and he adds a lot of love to make it all taste good.
The M&M's Candies Man role is similar to past examples, explaining the M&M dunking process and non-melting concept. A year after the commercial hit airways, a live-action version of the yellow suspender-wearing spokesman was shown on TV, where he explained the same message, this time surrounded by kids instead of animated M&Ms. The M&M's Candies Man must have tested poorly with audiences because just 1 year later, he would be seen again, but as a sidekick to
The M&M's Gang, the M&M's Gang.
The OG Candyman would have the real staying power as he can be seen in the 2016 commercial commemorating the brand's 75th anniversary. In that commercial, the Candyman song can be seen remade by Aloe Blacc and producer Zedd. During the pre-Spokes Candy era, there was one more colored candy seen representing the brand. Prior to 1995, again there was red, yellow, green, orange, brown, but also tan. Many out there aren't aware that prior to 1995, tan was one of the colors found within an M&M's package. It would eventually be replaced by blue, but that's a story for later. Tan wasn't always a color staple, many colors have come and gone from rotation, but it was around long enough to warrant its own mascot. Now technically tan should be lumped together with the other pre-Spokes Candy ancestors, but no tan M&M has ever returned post-95, so he's counting. Despite there being a tan M&M in candy form starting in 1951, it wouldn't be until 1982 where he'd be first seen animated on TV. At first glance, tan might appear to be brown, maybe orange, or maybe even a plain chocolate center, but that's simply not the case. Many commercials and print ads show all colors together, proving that this guy right here is indeed meant to represent the real-life tan M&M. Believe it or not, Tan was acknowledged on the website at one time and has even received a few of his own figures, further solidifying his confirmed M&M's character status. If you need even more proof behind his unique color, the commercials at the time threw in this gag.
Great tan.
As seen on the 1990 commercial promoting the fictional talk show The Crunch Sweetly Show, besides the semi-lead M&M's representatives at the time, green and orange, we can see this guy, a droopy-looking chocolate bar. His placement in this commercial is to back up the famous M&M's phrase, melts in your mouth, not in your hand. A huge part of the M&M's marketing back in the day was centered around how typical chocolate bars melt when you eat them, but not M&M's, who, because of their candy coating, can be eaten with no mess. This same premise is then repeated in the 1996 commercial featuring a more recognizable chocolate bar, who again melts to prove the point that they can't handle the heat. This death scene is a tad more gruesome though, with Red showing zero sympathy and diving right into his liquidy corpse. On one of the oldest archives of the M&M's website, Choc the Bar can be seen being referred to by his preferred nickname,
Chocolatate.
and also having his own flash game, that being M&M's Melt'em. A third version of Chocolate Bar is seen in this 2012 ad that originates from Russia, in which, you guessed it, he doesn't last long. The chocolate bar mascot wouldn't be seen again after this, despite the brand actually releasing a chocolate bar of their own, to which they even made fun of the fact that this concept goes against their old catchphrase.
You know, M&M's kind of messed up. These bars melt in your mouth and your hand.
Well, I'll be.
You know what this is. It's finger licking good.
Some may disagree with counting a snow globe as a unique M&M's character, but besides this, when has there ever existed a clear M&M? Labeled as a Secret Santa snow globe is this unique collectible, likely from the 90s, that features a peanut-looking M&M's character sitting on top of a chimney designed to hold the titular candy. This see-through Santa achieves the interactive snow globe effect via the small M&Ms found within his stomach. Disregarding the casual cannibalism, this unique M&M is one of the rare few out there to have no specific release date connected to it. A 90s release period is almost confirmed when you take into account its design and showcasing of the old M&M's website URL. The only other clear M&Ms known to exist are these plastic figures who look to represent yellow and red that each showcase the uncomfortable truth behind M&M anatomy. In terms of most obscure characters, two that are in the running have to be the Netherlands white and purple M&Ms. Within the world of M&M's collecting, few pieces are rarer than this cardboard standee and purple plush, which is actually part of an equally weird looking set of characters. The Netherlands is semi-known for their strange collector's pieces, like for example this other plush set that includes yet again another purple. These particular colored characters are notable for being possibly the first representatives for a purple M&M. For the standee white M&M, he also is potentially the first time a colorless character has been seen, and maybe the only ever with a red M. Exact dates are unknown for all three, but a 90s release period is a safe bet. To help promote the newly launched peanut butter M&Ms in 1991, a series of commercials hit the air showcasing a new M&M's character, that being the aptly named Peanut Butter. At first glance, he appears to not differ too much from Tan, but his subtle peanut butter hairdo is enough to consider him a separate entity. In their commercial debut, Peanut Butter is depicted as nervous, naked blobs of filling that then go through the standard M&M coating process, to which after they join the ranks of their fellow pre-Spokes candy brethren, with again their standout quality being their unique swirl on top. Before Miss Green had the world in a chokehold, there was once another face representing the same color, that being Green Almond. As previously mentioned, almond M&Ms released several years prior, around 1960, but it wasn't until 1992 when the product became an official permanent M&Ms variant. To commemorate such a momentous event, a new M&M's character was developed showcasing the familiar pre-Spokes candy design, except for the fact his eyebrows, they're brown. Besides the single commercial introducing the character, there's thought to be no other media or merchandise featuring Green Almond, that is except for these animation cells, which appear to show a commercial that either never released or is lost to time. Most fans of the candy have probably noticed that around Easter and Christmas, M&Ms are seasonally recolored. This tradition started in 1986 with the release of M&M's Holidays. To represent the Christmas candy, there was already red and green mascots out there, but for the Easter color palette, no such M&M's characters existed. That all changed in 1994 with the debut of this commercial showcasing a group of pastel paraders who red and yellow mistakenly confuse with green almond.
Wow, look at them. Isn't that almond? I didn't recognize them in lavender.
This briefly shown pastel posse actually received their own toy figures around the same time in the form of candy tube toppers. Available in many different styles and sizes were the colors of pastel pink, purple, blue, and green. Shown in the commercial is also what looks to be a pastel yellow, except the yellow topper that was made appears to be the standard non-pastel variant, which belongs to another set. The peanut toppers are notable for holding wet paintbrushes, which when combined with their oval egg-like shape appears to be a reference to the classic Easter tradition. That same year, 1994, the pastel pink M&M also saw release in the form of a plush, complete with Easter bunny ears. The most obscure of all holidays Easter pastel M&M's mascots is the gold character, only ever seen in this 3-piece Basket Treats chocolate package. It looks as though this is simply another pastel yellow that only appears gold because of the foil wrapper. The holiday's pink character would also see variants released for Valentine's Day, with figures representing Cupid and a love letter sending postage worker, both of which have also been spotted as centerpieces on Valentine's Day chocolate boxes. 1995 isn't only the year when red and yellow received their new and improved and final looks, it was also the year blue entered the scene. Like previously mentioned, blue was the M&M to replace tan, but it was no simple switch out. There was an election held. Likely because of tan's bland and redundant color, a vote was held to see who would replace him. The candidates were blue, pink, and purple. Of course, blue won and has continued to be an iconic member of the M&M's family, but just because pink and purple lost doesn't mean they didn't receive their own mascots. Seen on shirts, aprons, and cardboard standees are mascot representations of all three candidates. Yes, we've seen a previous Dutch purple and a pastel pink, but these guys are counting separately. In a commercial made to promote the vote, CGI renders of each of the characters can be seen, all in a style comparable to the pre-Spokes Candy era. When filling in your ballot with who you wanted to win, you also had the chance to purchase plushes of each candidate. M&M's the brand would go on to host several more color votes, but none were nearly as impactful, and never again were unique short-lived mascots featured. As a way to advertise that blue was in fact here to stay, a commercial centered around the color was shown on TV depicting blue as having a sidekick in the shape of a plain M&M. This sunglass-wearing sidekick only exists to allow the blue painted red and yellow to replace the duo on stage next to blues legend B.B. King. Without this plain-shaped blue, the illusion wouldn't be possible. This unnamed plain blue was only ever seen this one time dancing alongside his bigger blue brother, and then later tied and gagged while the two imposters danced in their place. There's much confusion out there with what type of M&M blue is meant to represent. Many say almond, but he is more meant to represent the idea that the color blue is in both plain and peanut M&Ms, and his blue sidekick is just further proof of that. That's unless you trust the old Brazilian M&M's website stating that he's actually a peanut. The only time you'll see plain blue nowadays is whenever Red holds his breath, again as a way to disguise himself as a color he's not. Previously we've seen brown and orange M&Ms, but this is a special situation. 95 brown and 95 orange together are the most interesting duo in M&M's history. What makes them so interesting? It's the time period in which they existed, the post-Spokes Candy era. Post meaning after the infamous 1995 commercial and after the establishment of many core mascots. Blue was of course solidified as a character, and so was Miss Green, who in fact was spotted on 1995 M&M's related properties before her 1997 commercial debut. At the same time, Mars was experimenting with two other characters, a male brown and a female orange, both of which rocked big bodies like blue and yellow. You've likely never heard of these two as they never made it out of the 90s. This was before Crispy Orange and way before the female brown M&M. The first sighting of these two was on a series of magazine print ads from 1995 that didn't provide really any information and instead served as basic games to play. When looking at pieces of merchandise from the late 90s, we see Brown and Orange together on this school bus tin, 2 different Christmas tins, and on this graphic used for shirts, bowls, and posters. Separately, Brown can be seen super briefly in this advertiser-only video from the late 90s, in front of the first ever M&M store in Las Vegas in 1997, and he even received a single action figure also in 1997, where he plays a grumpy-looking Santa Claus. That particular toy is insanely rare, with only a few images of the figure existing online. Orange, on the other hand, got a little more exposure. She was seen on an additional Christmas tin, she received multiple Topper action figures, she got her own in-store display and ornament, a plush Witch variant of Orange was winnable through a send-away coupon, and most notably, Orange was part of the 1997 M&M's Burger King Kids Club toy set. This particular toy is commonly seen online and on the shelves at most antique stores. It appears Brown and Orange were introduced at the same time as Miss Green, but just didn't make the cut. The last sighting of them was 1998. From there on, they were never mentioned or seen of ever again. Once the crispy orange M&M was introduced in 1999, it was basically confirmed that both characters were retired. When diving back into the furthest possible archive of the M&M's website, we see all sorts of info on the pair. For Brown, we not only get many interesting renders of him, but we also receive a personality description. Brown, who's actually confirmed a peanut M&M, is described as a very smart, well-educated, and pleasant character, making him not too far away from 2012's Miss Brown. Orange's description also confirms her as a peanut and describes her as carefree, full of good intentions, a little mischievous, and tomboy-esque, making her significantly different from 99's Orange. Many times the site alludes to the fact these two specific characters are rarely seen. Brown and Orange don't receive viewable star trailers and instead we're told to just leave them alone. On the mailroom part of the 96 website, they mention how fans have been asking about them and how they never see them. They even show Yellow checking in on their dressing room. The site claims their lack of cameos is due to them finishing up their actor training program, which is supposedly needed for them to feature in television ads. The whole origin behind the forgotten Brown and Orange M&M's characters is fascinating. They were so close to becoming regulars, but slipped through the cracks right at the turn of the century. If you grew up during the early 2000s, you very likely have seen an M&M's advertisement showcasing these guys, the M&M's Minis, a wild swarm of smaller, occasionally armless and legless, mischievous M&Ms who through their extreme craftiness, ability to transform, and sheer numbers, oftentimes outsmart Red and Yellow who are constantly trying to contain them. But hold up, those aren't the first Minis, those are from 1997. Let's first take a look at the Minis who debuted 1 year prior, 1996. Before the bug-eyed boys most know of, M&M Minis were represented by characters akin to the pre-Spokes Candy era. Through the few existing pictures of the original Minis tubes online, we can see characters representing green, red, blue, pink, and orange. When looking at the other ways Minis were released, including these unique cardboard vehicles, we can also see a yellow and purple, which does not exist in the pre-Spokes Candy era, therefore confirming them as separate smaller side characters. Around Halloween time, a ghost mini can be seen with no color being visible whatsoever, allowing for an 8th countable entry. Switching now to the 1997 minis, today they're all but a distant memory, but back in the day, Mars went pretty heavy with the promotion of these guys. The amount of advertisements, dispensers, collectibles, and random bits of merchandise related to the minis is honestly shocking. Like, you would be amazed at the sheer quantity of minis related products that are out there. When discussing the minis mascots, they're almost always just lumped together because none are named and they're never seen separated. Something worth noting though is every time they're seen, they always consist of the same 7 colors: blue, red, brown, green, yellow, pink, and orange. Every piece of Minis related anything will only ever feature those 7 colors, with a few rare exceptions. Outside of the initial 7, there's a teal mini, purple mini, light pink mini, and a black mini. Starting first with the teal and purple pair, they look to have been deemed part of the core group because wow are there numerous different plushes, collectibles, and dispensers featuring those two. You can see for yourself how hard M&M's the brand pushed them as characters. For the light pink mini, a bit of clarification is needed. This particular style of Minnie's dispenser is by far the most commonly seen piece of Minnie's merchandise, but it technically only came in 5 unique bodies, which could then be customized. Over in Hong Kong, they not only received an exclusive orange color, but also a light pink, which is different than the standard pink. This was probably just because of a simple manufacturing related decision, but nonetheless provides us a unique character. The black mini was only ever seen within a series of Danbury Mint M&M's collectibles. Seen within these highly detailed collector's pieces is sometimes a brown mini, but oftentimes a black one, which occasionally is also seen representing a shellless mini, going against the whole idea of plain chocolate brown centers. Throughout the Minis' extensive advertising campaign, many more related characters and creatures can be seen that almost count as extended universe entries, but for one reason or another are being ignored. Starting in 2003, a third wave of Minis debuted as the new face of the candy. This batch of miniature M&Ms is significantly less popular than prior mascots, but are still remembered for their print ads and iconic commercials. Unlike the two previous Minis eras, every M&M has its own unique look, name, and personality. Anytime you see a Mini from around this time period, it will always match the exact appearance of one of 21 total characters, the names of which are Xanth, Rosie, Ember, Cinnabar, Prussian, Ruddy, Umber, Chiffon, Lazeline, Crimson, Cyan, Brun, Peridot, Blush, Odorion, Catter, Chiffon, Sorrel, Grove, Citrine, and Chartreuse. As you probably noticed, all 21 are split into the 7 colors of blue, brown, green, orange, red, yellow, and pink. Courtesy of an M&M's insider, we know just about everything there is to know about them via this style guide. Within its pages, we see how minis are never meant to have arms or legs, only occasional hands, how each are meant to obviously be male or female, how each design needs to stick to their designated color, amongst other rules regarding their eyes, swarm sizes, M angling, and their whole backstory of being immature young M&Ms who escaped containment and have been wreaking havoc ever since. In addition to all that info is a ton of scrapped early minis designs. The story actually elaborates on how the idea behind the minis originally was to steal attention away from blue M&Ms, who were the most popular in the mid-90s. Despite the strict rules stated about sticking to the right colors, there exist many pieces of 2003 minis related merchandise that have certain characters paired with the wrong colors. Those could be passed off as mini drones, which are also clearly defined in the style guide. Occasionally you'll run into old magazine advertisements and website archive screenshots claiming to list their proper names, but oftentimes these are incorrect. Before 2003, the minis would seasonally dress up or have some sort of cosmetic appearance change, but it was only with this specific era of minis where they would significantly change appearance to represent well-known properties like Shrek and Star Wars. These aren't being counted separately despite their dramatic color changes because at the end of the day, each of the designs still matched one of the pre-established 21 characters. When talking to that same M&M's insider who provided the style guide, they were able to provide the exact reason why you no longer see the minis advertising mini M&Ms anymore, and instead only ever see red and yellow in their place. This was because a few years after the 2003 redesign, there was a health initiative starting centered around making kids healthier, and a big part of that was focusing on which foods were being marketed to children. Because of the minis' advertisements playing on children's TV channels, their print ads being placed in kids' magazines, and the fact that they're meant to represent younger versions of the classic M&M's characters, all combined together led to them being cut completely. That's why you don't see these fun print ads anymore featuring little games to play, and why you don't see any M&M's commercials on kids' channels. The company was afraid of a lawsuit and deemed the minis a risk to business. When talking business risks, we have the 1997 compilation album M&M's Sings the Blues, which has a cover that either shows a brown or naked M&M. Once you open the tin case and further investigate the artwork, there isn't just one musically gifted naked M&M, but 6, who together make up the M&M Blues Band. The question does arise though, are these actually brown or naked M&Ms, or are they slightly problematic depictions of the race heavily associated with the blues genre? It's definitely up for interpretation. The ambiguous band members combined with the strange music note and number painted shell-less figures also seen on the artwork really stand out when compared to all other M&M mascot depictions. It all starts to make sense when you find out this is from the Netherlands, the home of strange looking designs. Not much info is known about this borderline racist release. It was said to be given away for free, but how exactly is unclear. It's not even confirmed if the music found on the project is all covers or live performance rips. What is known is there was a Volume 2 released that same year, except the M&M's Blues Band is nowhere to be seen. Instead, the sax-playing Blue is the only mascot present in the form of this uniquely shaped CD. Over the decades, the M&M's brand has held many successful competitions, with one of the more well-known and notorious ones being the Find the Gray Imposter competition from 1997. To promote the event, this wanted poster was placed in magazines and shared peer-to-peer on the early days of the internet. As you can see on the poster is a bizarre-looking gray M&M, notably missing his signature M, hence why he's deemed an imposter. How the contest worked was people were told that if they found a gray M&M with no M printed on it in either a bag of almond plain peanut or peanut butter M&Ms, then they would be the proud winner of $1 million. Except not exactly. See, there was actually several gray M&Ms in the wild and not all guaranteed the cash. To win the million, you also had to have the matching game piece, meaning a specially marked wrapper. Because of how poorly this concept was communicated to customers, many out there who found a gray were upset that they didn't win the money. Instead, they were given either 180 or 365 coupons for free M&Ms, which is nice, except they had a 12-month expiration date, making claiming all the coupons in time a little unrealistic. The odds for finding the winning million gray were said to be 274 million to 1. Despite that, the contest clunkiness continued when 19-year-old Jason Ruhlman found the winning $1 million gray super early in the competition, leading to Mars deciding they'd award another million in order to keep people buying and trying to find one. Even though the contest didn't quite go to plan and pissed off a lot of customers, it did provide us with a very fun and unique M&M's character. Seen on an old website archive of the competition is a full dossier for the Gray Imposter where he's described as inadequate feeling, super boring, desperate, delusional, sneaky, a liar, lacking in personality, and with an inferiority complex similar to that of Chocolatate, the chocolate bar. To advertise the hunt, several fun commercials were shown on TV, including this one from Russia, where an animated version of the character can be seen riding a roller coaster with red and yellow. The existence of this commercial appears to prove it was an international competition, but the wrapper looks different, so there was likely several similar competitions held around the same time. Besides the wrapper, commercials, and poster, the only other time the Gray Imposter has been seen was on this collectible cup, where he can be spotted dangling off the elusive orange female M&M disguised as the Statue of Liberty. While perusing M&M collections online, you might come across a slightly off-looking character, about 1.5–2 inches tall, that is usually performing or taking part in some strange activity. These little guys are part of the 1997 French toy promotion called M&M's Pocket Surprise. Instead of the standard 6, 8, or 12 figures in a set, there's said to be between 180 and 200 of these figures in existence. They are further split into theme sets with small paper checklists, so they're organized a tad. Of the nearly 200 you'll find online, they'll always either be red, yellow, orange, green, or blue. That is except for one little 5-piece set, the Phosphorescence. These highly obscure figures are the only ever examples of glow-in-the-dark M&M's characters. As you can see, each of the 5 characters are meant to represent some sort of light-based idea. The glow-in-the-dark element comes from their ability to suction cup to a window during the day to soak light, so when night hits, their true colors can be seen. Their bizarre phosphorescence name comes from the large cardboard display the Pocket Surprises packages were sold in. Because of the pack-in toy promotion lasting for several years and totaling nearly 200 figures, all of which are quite rare, it's possible other unique M&M's character sets exist out there, but it's safe to say they wouldn't be nearly as cool as the phosphorescents. Things start to get juicy when entering 1998, with the release of the Minis Swarmies, a set of 8 plushes depicting 8 unique M&M's Minis characters, those including Perky Pink, Belle Blue, Orville Orange, Gordo Green, Ricky Red, Lisa Lilac, Pesky Purple, and Yellen Yellow. When released, each of these characters was paired with a tube of Minis M&Ms, which was possible via the straps on their backs. At the end of the day, this is undeniably just another way to push the candy, but most can probably agree these are some of the coolest pieces of M&M's lore. The term Swarmies to refer to a group of minis was first introduced here with this plush set. None of the colored characters seen within this set match any specific minis era design-wise, they're more their own thing. Each character comes with a fun tag that details the names and personalities of everyone in the set, and a small paragraph going over their previously discussed backstory. Except this time they specify their goal of flying into kids' mouths. The Swarmies weren't done yet. In 1999, another set of 8 released featuring all new characters. This time we have Funny Fuchsia, Expressive Emerald, Winking White, Vocal Violet, Rambunctious Red, Boastful Brown, Techno Teal, and Brilliant Blue. As you can see, this batch notably includes a white M&M, the only other one in existence next to the Netherlands. Other fun colors and expressions are seen within this crew, with some characters even rocking glasses. Inside the tags, the same information from before can be found, including that same sus line. It appears Mars was positioning these guys as possible new M&M spokes candies, with them receiving multiple spin-off toys, like the Swarmies playsets for Techno Teal and Funny Fuchsia, as well as the Micro Swarmies, which feature no one new, only 6 of the previous 8 shrunk down and legless. Even lesser known than those 2 batches of Swarmies is the spin-off to a spin-off, that being the Mutant Mini Swarmies, a set of 4 more plushes, this time promoting the Mutant Minis competition from 1999. Not much is known about the competition, all we know comes from the tubes that appear to advertise a cash prize if you were able to find a Mutant Mini, which looks to be a tie-dye-esque colored M&M. This is of course when paired with a specifically marked tube, which is made way more clear than in the previous clunky contest. Instead of simply recoloring previous Swarmies characters, these are all brand new, including Neon Newman, Swirlin' Merlin, Wavy Daisy, and Luminous Larry, each of which features never before seen tie-dye colorways. Fun fact with these, the coloring isn't always the same. It appears that the tie-dye coloring method varies depending on the specific plush, leading to all sorts of different looking mutant Swarmies. These 3 sets, combined with a few spin-off toys, would end up being the only pieces of Swarmies related merchandise. That was until the discovery of these. Seen through only a few existing images on the internet is this 7-piece set of strange looking Swarmies, thought to be exclusive to China. Nearly nowhere online will you see mention of these or inclusion of these specific Swarmies in any of the countless M&M's collections out there. This Chinese exclusivity is only an assumption based on the fact their tags include Mandarin. In terms of identifying elements, there isn't much. These are dated 1997, making them the actual first Swarmies, and they're labeled as Plush Toy Fun Friends, but that exact phrase is seen on other M&M's collectibles, so it isn't much of a lead. The set number of 7 instead of the traditional 8 isn't 100% confirmed, but an 8th has never been spotted, and there even exists an image of the set sealed, totaling only to 7. The real question is, what are their names? Well, we don't know. No visual for the tag exists anywhere online. It is possible the names match other Swarmies characters released post-97, but the personalities don't seem to match up. If we were ever able to get our hands on just one of those tags, we would maybe have ourselves the answer to a nearly 30-year-old mystery. Thanks to a very helpful and patient Hong Kong resident, we were able to track down a purchasable, complete set of the mysterious 1997 Chinese Swarmies. all with the goal of finally uncovering their names via their cardboard tags. After a very stressful, multi-week transaction, we finally got these 7 plushes all with their tags intact. All that was left was to open up one for the big reveal. Sadly, the only information within the tag is boring generic text and cleaning tips. This is the case for all 7 in the set, sadly proving none of them have unique names. We do see some more info proving their supposed Chinese exclusivity and confusingly a date of 1998. Despite the Mandarin included on the tag's front, the back of the tag just had to sneak in that same stupid line in English despite the country of origin. Even more obscure than those characters is the one scene in the 1999 French commercial who goes under the name King Doom. Well, actually there's 2 versions of this character out there. Originally in 1999, the single French commercial featuring Red and Yellow chasing after a plain-looking M&M was shown on television where the character was referred to as Le Tristor. There doesn't appear to be an exact translation for Le Tristor, but we do know the newspaper he's pictured in details how, once found, you can win 1 million francs. The name King Doom comes from the 2000 UK commercial, which is nearly identical besides the mysterious figure is donning a black mask and is referred to as the more easy to understand supervillain-like name, King Doom. Again, a cash prize of £1 million was advertised. Despite these 2 significant size prizes, there is not one stitch of information regarding either contest online. The only information we know is that Will Vinton Studios, now known as Lakia Animation Studios, is responsible for the commercials. The dates for both ads are confirmed via this French commercial archive website and the contest dates seen on screen. At the end of each ad, the tie-in candy wrappers can be seen, one of which is way higher resolution than the other. On that French wrapper, a more clear image of Le Tristor can be seen, looking almost as if they're meant to represent aliens. That's further backed up with the Stop the Invasion translation. Taking into account the look of the character, time frame of the competitions, and cash prize amounts, these were likely the UK and France's version of the Find the Imposter challenge. That is purely speculation. The actual origin / real story behind King Doom, aka Le Tristor, is unknown. At one point in your life, you 100% have seen this specific ad played before a movie at your local Cinemark. Near the end of the commercial, Red states this.
This is why we don't make movies.
Except that isn't true. There was an M&M's film made. A short one, but a film nonetheless. It was called I Lost My M in Vegas and was released in 1999, only viewable at the M&M store in Las Vegas. Whether this movie was played at other locations and is even still playing at Vegas is unknown, but unlikely. Starring in the roughly 10-minute film is Red, Yellow, and even the Minis. Currently, there exists no high-quality version of the film online. All we have now is super low-quality camera recordings. That, combined with the fact the movie is 3D, leads to some pretty terrible-looking footage. Regardless, the film features several new characters, ones of the extended universe variety. Because of the plot centering around Red attempting to find his lost M, which he gambled away at a casino, it leads to the iconic duo traveling to an alternate dimension filled with lost socks. These lost socks appear neutral at first, calmly drinking at the bar, complaining how they became separated from their pair. That is until they realize Red and Yellow don't belong. With the help of female medium sock Bobby, the 2 successfully escape and continue their search. Besides adding the lost socks to the timeline, there's also the Lost Cause Furnace, a large evil robot-like furnace who serves as the final boss Red and Yellow need to face to get the M back. The Lost Cause name comes from the idea that when items are really lost, they're a lost cause and need to go to the Lost Cause Furnace for incineration. These 2 additions aren't nearly as fun side characters as earlier entries, but still deserve a spot within the M&M's Extended Universe roster of characters. As previously mentioned, many M&M colors have come and gone over the years, most of which haven't received mascots. Tan, of course, was an exception to that, but so is Violet, the colored M&M who Tan replaced. Before the boring beige became a mainstay for 43 years, a violet M&M was one of the 5 core colors. Sure, purple M&M mascots exist in some capacity, but none have been tied to that specific pre-1951 era. That is until you dive back into the 1999 M&M's website archive, where an anthropomorphic version of Violet can be seen. At first glance, this just appears to be a recolored red, and let's be real, it is, but the text description tells us all we need to confirm it as a separate M&M's character, even though calling this shade of purple Violet is a stretch. Violet's backstory comes from the website FAQ section, where one of the questions asked was about the decades gone Violet M&Ms. Besides this sole 90s CG render of Violet, no other images have ever been seen. In order to track down every single unique M&M's character, what had to be searched through were the video games. It's no secret there exist many games out there featuring the M&Ms on a variety of platforms, but the question is, do they contain any unique, never before seen characters? Starting first, we have M&M's Minis Madness, a Game Boy Advance game from the year 2000. Outside of the game's 4 main characters, as well as the minis, there are several small-time enemies sprinkled throughout the game's 4 levels, who don't have personality traits and are instead just basic objects themed to each world. There's roughly 10 different little guys you'll run into, one of which being a tiny forklift. Taking a look at another game from the same year, we have the M&M's The Lost Formulas on PC, also known as M&M's Shell Shocked on the PS1 the following year. Each game is slightly different, but for the most part they're the same, so we're going to focus mainly on the more complete version, The Lost Formulas. Content-wise, there's a lot more to The Lost Formulas than Minis Madness. The game takes place over several more levels, of which contain significantly more enemies. The enemies are again rather lame, with the majority of them being M&M's factory robots, but there are a few more fun entries like the Motorcycle Mob, a gang of bikers who only appear early in the game as angry passersby who attempt to run you off the road. The name Motorcycle Mob comes from the game's manual. There appears to be 3 different bikers within the mob, with only one of those carrying over to the PlayStation version. Taking a closer look at that one in particular, he appears to just be a standard looking fat bearded biker, nothing too special. For the robots, there appears to be roughly 20 different ones throughout the course of the game. Then there's a few others only ever seen in Shell Shocked. Some animals are sprinkled in as well, but overall, these extended universe entries aren't exactly what we're looking for. They're counting more out of necessity. M&M's Blast, the second Game Boy game to look at, contains again a plethora of boring small-scale enemies that we're just gonna say right now, don't count. Most of the little creatures seen on screen are so minor they aren't worth spending any time on, except the non-animal creatures, they're right on the border. The only countable extended universe entry here is the game's final boss, the Haunted Furnace, 2001's only non-M&M's character worthy of inclusion on the timeline. After playing several levels of Mario Party-esque gameplay, you are faced against the Haunted Furnace, a big-eyed, fireball-spitting furnace whose sole purpose is to stop you from entering the game's ending doorway. Appearance-wise, this is more what we're looking for. Jumping ahead to 2005, within the comic book pages of the Marvel collaboration The Swarm Volume 1, we lay eyes on easily the most visually interesting and unique M&M's character ever, Master M and Emma, a 2-headed monstrosity birthed from an experimental spokes candy generating machine. Master M's appearance comes from the minis messing with the machine so much that it led to a complete malfunction, resulting in a spokes candy that was meant to be cute and endearing, but was instead made to be a hideous mutant with evil intentions. Those intentions being revenge on the minis for causing his ugly appearance. Master M and Emma do this by wielding a mutated minis tube that has the ability to send the minis to whatever twisted dimension they can think up, complete with mutant henchmen that require the efforts of each colored group of minis to defeat. Because of how awesome looking each of the different henchmen are, they too are going towards the final count. If not already obvious, the combo name of Master M and Emma is supposed to be a little play on words with the brand name. Worth noting with the character's design is the mutated M logo and exposed peanut head. According to an M&M's insider, Master M was originally intended to represent those malformed, ugly M&Ms you occasionally find in a package of peanut or plain. The brand didn't love the idea of actually acknowledging the existence of those defect candies, so they instead went with the previously described origin story. The duo is also loosely based off the parents of an involved team member. The whole goal of creating the comic was to help the minis' slumping sales numbers. Along with the book, there was an interactive website which included a wallpaper maker, a paint minigame, and a digital motion comic version of the story they called a cybercomic. The increased sales came from the need to purchase multiple colored minis tubes in real life that had secret codes on them which, when entered, would unlock more parts of the story. Courtesy of The Insider, we have an exclusive look at an early version of the comic, internal pitch sheets going over the ad campaign, and tons of scrapped early names and initial concepts for not only Master M and Emma, but for his mutant henchmen as well. Because of how well The Swarm, The Rise of Master M Volume 1 performed sales-wise, a second edition was in the works, as well as a platformer video game, both of which got to 80% completion. Sadly though, with the M&M's brand deciding to cut the minis from all advertising, neither the second volume or video game ever saw release. Now into 2007, we're presented with another video game, this time M&M's Break 'em for the Game Boy Advance and DS. Again, both versions of the game aren't too different, so there's no need to compare the two against each other. Something you need to know right away about Break 'em is this is not a unique, developed from the ground up video game. It is instead a slightly altered version of the game Gem Smashers from 2001, developed by Frame Studios, the same people behind Break 'em. The two games are so similar that the first 7 enemies are nearly identical besides this slightly altered robot character. Out of pity, they'll be included on the timeline. Where things get considerably more interesting is with Break 'em's final boss, Mr. Runch. Despite the game's simplicity and completely irrelevant gameplay, the story is somewhat deep. Mr. Runch is described as a rotten and dangerous outlaw peanut who is determined to become an M&M. His plan includes using his starship to invade Planet Crunch and kidnap all inhabitants with the goal of using them to make a special chocolate shell to hide his rotten skin. He plans on doing this by using a crystallizing weapon that perma-freezes whatever it touches. The core M&M characters deem him too bitter and deserving of the reject bin. After you get done facing all the completely unrelated creature mini-bosses, you end up facing Runch as a final battle. Once defeated, he is revealed to have legs similar to the M&Ms, only to then have them seemingly removed once frozen by his own weapon. A seemingly endless rabbit hole for new M&M's characters comes to us in the form of the 2007 promotion Become an M&M, aka There's an M&M in Everyone, aka the Inner M campaign. Right away, when hearing the mention of those campaign slogans, you were likely reminded of either the 50-foot tall Statue of Liberty, Dr. Phil, or Lisa Rinna M&M's characters, each of which has a significant meme following. In reality, there exist countless others just like them, so many in fact, we don't know the final count. For an overall summary, the Inner M campaign was an attempt by Mars to make potential customers even more aware of the brand by allowing them to make custom M&M avatars of themselves, to which they could then use them for all sorts of purposes like playing online games, developing custom merch, and most importantly, posting to social media. Many ads from around the time showcased never-before-seen M&M's characters with all sorts of accessories as a way to show the customization possibilities. All over the internet will you find examples of personalized M&Ms made for this Inner M campaign. For obvious reasons, all the different fan designs out there will not be counted, as there is said to be nearly 4 million different ones created by the end of the promotion. What we're really here to look at is all the other examples using the Inner M idea. Going back to the Statue of Liberty, despite the commonly seen trend of Miss Green representing the New York statue, this instead looks to be a unique character, proven also by this advertiser video.
We created a 50-foot Inner M of the Statue of Liberty, seen floating in the New York harbor next to Lady Liberty herself.
For Lisa and Phil, they originate from the print ad portion of the campaign. Seen in magazine ads from around the time are many examples of celebrities represented by M&M mascots. The full list includes Bobby Flay, Brad Garrett, Brooks and Dunn, Burt Reynolds, Christina Saraleggi, Kiss, Harrison Ford / Indiana Jones, Howie Long and Jimmy Johnson, Joan and Melissa Rivers, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, Mary Lou Retton, Michael Bay, Michael Strahan, the entire Addams family, Wilmer Valderrama, Joey Fatone, and of course, Lisa Rinna and Dr. Phil. Most of the time these ads are simply promoting the campaign, but sometimes they were purposely timed up to promote something in particular, like M&M's Dark Chocolate, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, the NFL, the Oscars, and or Transformers 2: The Revenge of the Fallen. The Addams Family in particular is notable for receiving their own commercial, which features some of the goofiest looking M&M's characters ever seen, including a beheaded M&M in the hands of Wednesday. As a way of promoting both the NRM campaign and Statue of Liberty, Entertainment Tonight host Mark Saenz as well received his own NRM design. Going back to those games playable with your custom M&M, those are found on the tie-in website becomeanmm.com. On the site, you were able to explore Planet M, a charming Flash-based world filled with all sorts of fun decorations. After completing your custom character, it was then usable in the planet's different hub areas, like the arcade and custom postcard maker. When perusing the different designs achievable through the postcard customizer, we again see another unique M&M's character. This guy right here, labeled Ambassador, appears to be the lead representative for Planet M, made clear by his top hat and mustache. In reality, he appears to be a recolored yellow peanut. Regardless, these are the exact kinds of examples we're looking for. Other fun Planet M characters can be found in the customizable movies found in the film studio. Today these are inaccessible, but through the few existing screenshots, we can see there was a unique cowboy character named Count Longshanks and an interesting looking M&M alien coming from the story Plan M from Outer Space. The early development visuals we have for the Plan M movie show not only a different looking alien, but also what a completely plain placeholder NRM looks like. Circling back to the commercial scene earlier, counting them all as separate unique entries again isn't happening, but what's worth noting with these specific designs is they're actually based on real people. Again, after talking with a behind the scenes insider, they were able to show the reference images for most of the characters seen in the commercials. Most of these people are either employees or related friends and family members. The rabbit hole goes even deeper from there. A big way in which the NRM campaign was advertised was through NASCAR. The most notable relevant character seen time and time again is the Kyle Busch M&M. He's been seen on magazine ads, at meetings, on TV, in newspapers, on t-shirts, and even on playing cards. Besides Kyle, there's been 8 other NASCAR-related celebrities who have received their own custom-drawn M&M's characters. It doesn't even stop there. You've got 5 more unique characters who each received their own commercial, one of which we have an early animation version of. There's a 2007 commercial from Mexico featuring even more uncanny custom characters. There's a whole other world of maybe official, maybe not M&M's caricature drawings from a Mars holiday celebration, and nearly 20 more from a Sam's Club event, including one supposedly for the Jack Link Sasquatch. By far the most interesting has to be the 2008 NRM celebrity sketches, which before now have never been seen except by the celebrities they're depicting. Primarily for the 2008 Oscars, M&M's the brand decided that a good way to promote the NRM campaign would be to draw up NRM designs for many of the nominees, as well as some other trendy celebrities at the time. So far, we have 18 celebrity sketches, including Ben Affleck, Casey Affleck, Cate Blanchett, Dolly Parton, Denzel Washington, Emile Hirsch, at the time Ellen Page, George Clooney, Javier Bardem, Josh Brolin, James McAvoy, John Travolta, Keira Knightley, Mel B, Nikki Blonsky, Ruby Dee, Vanessa Redgrave, and Ryan Gosling. Now, there have also been sketches found for Martha Stewart, Jennifer Hudson, and Jay Leno, but it's unknown if there's more. In that same advertiser video from before, there's said to be hundreds, so who knows who received a sketch.
We created hundreds of celebrity and media personality in our M&M's drawings.
More assets provided by the M&M's Insider show even more proof of others being worked on, like Conan O'Brien, Drew Carey, Elton John, Jewel, Sam Jackson, Prince, and the Rolling Stones. Overall, the Become an M&M campaign was a very fun and effective promotion, one that, when you add it together, totals to roughly 193 new M&M character entries, some of which are definitely more legit than others. Out of all the M&M's related video games, the most notorious has to be M&M's Kart Racing from 2008, playable on the Wii and DS. This time each version of the game does differ significantly, so we'll be looking at them separately, starting with the Wii. The reason behind Kart Racing's infamy stems from its horrendous controls and overall extreme poor quality. Bad gameplay aside, does it contain unique M&M's characters? Well, actually, yes, sort of. Candy-wise, there's only the standard 5 colors, each of which is a playable driver, but when it comes to the racers you don't have access to, there's some never-before-seen characters. When starting up a race on any of the game's 15 tracks, you might notice how some of the non-player characters aren't M&Ms. Specifically, there's a robot, bug, and fox. When crossing the finish line and viewing the racer names, it's revealed they go by Robo, Cricket, and Foxy. Where these three characters fit into the M&M's universe is not clear whatsoever. Their inclusion is likely because the developers needed to fill the character roster and they had some random assets laying around. Some keen-eyed fans have noticed though how Foxy matches nearly perfectly with a character of the same name from the 1994 fighting game Brutal Paws of Fury. Why this is the case is again a mystery, but interesting to point out. In the DS version of the game, the only characters you race as or against are purely the 5 core M&Ms, but that doesn't mean there aren't more extended universe entries. Robo, Cricket, and Foxy are nowhere to be found, but we do see some racetrack enemies that go towards the count. For the DS version of kart racing, there are less maps than in the Wii, but for the ones they do have, they match thematically with prior courses. The biggest difference between the two is most tracks have NPC enemies sprinkled throughout the courses. Several of the enemies are rather lame, but some are quite interesting as they feature the iconic M&M's legs. It is possible these are actually M&M's characters hiding / disguising themselves under random objects. Regardless, they all enter the timeline. As well as this chef who is in fact human, but just too goofy and weird to leave out. A lesser known game from the same year, M&M's Adventure for the Wii and DS, again brings new characters, but man are they weird. Both versions of the game are very similar, so it isn't another kart racing situation. The storyline is again centered around the M&M's factory going haywire, which of course leads to rogue robots. Design-wise, these guys are fine, but they aren't food and aren't that M&M's related, making them rather lame entries. The game's menu actually categorizes them as equipment and gives them specific names, so at least there's that. Where things start to get real weird is with the game's 5 boss battles. For a reason that is not clear at all, each of the game's bosses are seasonally themed. There's Uncle Sam for the 4th of July, the Easter Bunny for Easter, a Jack-o'-lantern for Halloween, a snowman for Christmas, and a Cupid for Valentine's Day. The idea of basing these around the fact the M&M's candy has seasonal variants could have been a cool idea, but that isn't alluded to at all. They appear to just randomly exist in the factory, with some having minor roles like the Easter Bunny being in charge of the peanuts, Uncle Sam doing the candy coating, and Cupid is actually deemed a manager. The gameplay itself doesn't look half bad, and the designs too, not too shabby, but the voice acting, we're talking worst of all time.
Give me back my candies, you thief. You'll never escape from here as long as I'm in charge. Na 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 na, catch me if you can.
I can't believe this guy is a manager here.
A prime example of an interesting and unique M&M's character comes from the 2008 Australian promotion Trust No Candy. Seen in this single video is a mysterious figure who goes by the name Mr. M. At first glance, this appears to just be Red in one of his many costumes, but that isn't the case. On the corresponding Trust No Candy website, there are short blog posts detailing how each of the main M&Ms are engulfed in several controversies, including Red. In the intro post on the blog, Mr. M goes on to detail how he's a color experiment gone wrong, in his own words, a multicolored freak. In addition to the tricky-to-see lighting, he hides his identity by disguising his voice.
Who am I? Mr. M.
The reason behind calling out the candidates is because each was running an election campaign to be voted Australia and New Zealand's favorite character, which resulted in a possible $100,000 prize. Later in 2010, a nearly identical contest was held in the US for smaller rewards, including the chance for one lucky voter and 20 friends to attend an M&M color-specific Diddy party. Surprisingly, over 17 years later, the Trust No Candy blog is still up and running, complete with a fake-out pop-up that still redirects to the Australian version of the M&M's website. 2009, the year M&M's Beach Party released for the Nintendo Wii, a video game that surprisingly brings back Mr. Runch 2 years after his Breakum debut. The game is solely focused on 6 beach-themed minigames, one of which is titled Mr. Runch Slam, which features the Rotten Peanut not as some impressive endgame boss, instead as a small projectile meant to be plopped onto M-labeled lily pads. As for new character entries, one can be found in the Colornator arcade shooter minigame. In order to win, Colorinator requires the player to paint colorless M&Ms as they run and hide, with the goal of having the highest number painted with your color by the end of the 60 seconds. Now, gray M&Ms we've seen before, the core M&Ms in gray, we've also seen that, but these guys are different. These Colorinator colorless M&Ms are not meant to represent any core character, not even Blue, who's considerably heftier. They are instead meant to be neutral / blank slate characters whose only purpose is to get doused with paint. Little is known about these imposter peanut looking M&Ms, except the fact their M chest emblem is backwards. The only other M&M's game that needs investigated is the 2022 brain rot iOS and Android game M&M's Adventure. In the now defunct mobile game, also seen in M&M stores via giant arcade kiosks, is only 6 of the core mascots, no one else besides some occasional background pedestrians that, like the fish seen in Beach Party, aren't even being considered. To promote the M&M's partnering with French sportswear brand Le Coq Sportif, this very unique claymation commercial was produced featuring quite possibly the strangest looking extended universe M&M's character ever. To understand this creature's origins, Le Coq Sportif wanted to bring back one of their flagship 80s running shoes, and how they decided to do it was by incorporating the M&M's color palette. Only 500 pairs were made and sold, with 10 of them being given away to contest winners. The nearly 2-minute long ad goes on to detail how the brand took the idea from the 1985 sneaker and eventually transformed it into the 2009 limited time release M&M's collab. The M&M's brand would go on to be part of other shoe-based partnerships, but none that resulted in a character quite like the Le Coq Sportif Abomination. Maybe the most recognizable M&M's character who isn't actually an M&M's character is Pretzel Guy, a piece of anthropomorphic food that was first seen in 2010. The whole idea of Pretzel Guy is he's meant to represent the inside of Orange, who was made the main mascot for the new Salty Pretzel M&Ms. Pretzel Guy's personality is completely based around the idea he lives 24/7 inside of an M&M and is not pleased about it. Typically, this sort of character wouldn't get too much screen time, but Pretzel Guy has had several dedicated commercials, was seen in many print ads, and was even once interviewed on E.T. As a spin-off to Orange, but also sort of Pretzel Guy, is the Patrick Warburton Orange M&M, a character that is indeed a separate countable entry. Prior to this ad, Patrick Warburton has been seen in many M&M's ads over the years, none though where his likeness is used to represent a candy character. The idea of Patrick transforming himself into an M&M comes from the idea you are what you eat, sort of in a similar possible reference way to the 1999 Crispy M&M Dietrich Bader commercial. Another non-chocolate M&M's adjacent character like Pretzel Guy hit the airwaves. This time from Canada, we have the nameless Popcorn. Only seen in this single commercial advertising a limited time free movie tickets promotion was this overly happy corn kernel who, after uncontrollably laughing, burst into his full-fledged popcorn form. The choice to showcase a piece of sentient popcorn was likely to tie into the snack you'd be munching on after getting your hands on the 2 free movie tickets, earnable through Pouch Top collecting. At first glance, the Australian Search for the Lost Tribe promotion from 2012 appears to be just another example of the classic 5 characters in new costumes, but that's not exactly the case. With the goal of growing their social media following, Mars decided to launch a campaign centered around the M&M's undiscovered tribal ancestors, known as the Lost Tribe, who end up being cannibals to prove how no one can resist the great taste of the candy, not even them. The Lost Tribe members are only ever seen in the 5 main colors and are indeed unique characters considered an M&M subspecies. The tribe members can be seen obsessing over the various main characters and even speaking their own language. The social media element of their promotion came from real-life treasure hunts and a web series of videos slowly releasing that allowed fans to follow the M&Ms as they searched for the Lost Tribe. The real interesting part of the campaign was its Ancestry.com integration. The M&M's character who was said to originally discover the tribe was the great uncle of Yellow, known as Methusias Yellow. Methusias can be seen on Yellow's Ancestry.com page alongside other family members who sadly don't have any visuals like Uncle. All we know from the site and a few commercials is that once Methusius discovered the tribe, he was promptly eaten and then graphically skinned and shrunken. The whole promotion had way more to it, including rare collectibles, unique jungle green candy, special eBay auctions, and even more web-only commercials. After corresponding with, yet again, another M&M's insider, we are now able to see all sorts of interesting behind-the-scenes content related to the promotion, including but not limited to commercial storyboards, internal pitch sheets, early artwork, scrapped merchandise ideas, and even an unused yellow ancestor character described as the tribal chief's hideous daughter. Foreign countries doing their own unique design spin on the classic M&M's mascots is nothing new. There's many overseas examples of the classic colored characters that are close to matching the US, but something is just a little off. You never see any major deviation from the core 7 characters though. Well, that all changed in 2013. Briefly seen in an advertisement from the country of Madagascar is this brown M&M. In this single advertisement, he's only seen 3 times. First dancing, second with a party noisemaker, and third completely out of control. In the few still viewable African M&M's ads, we can see some wildly inaccurate designs, but in this particular 2013 ad spot, Miss Brown was already out. Her female status was confirmed a year prior, 2012. So when this commercial decided they'd instead sneakily debut a new brown mascot, to say people were confused would be an understatement. We've seen all sorts of obscure brown M&M's mascots at this point, but remember, we're in the post-Spokes Candy era, so anytime a character breaks the pre-established colored character looks, it's worth mentioning. Madagascar really didn't seem to care about the brand's corporate design protocols, as in the same ad there are seemingly 2 different red characters and 2 seemingly different orange, one of which isn't at all his normal nervous self and is instead the life of the party. After the popcorn character became a member of the M&M's extended universe, new entries in the category really didn't hit the same. Take for example the 2017 Filipino commercial Mix and Match Auditions. In the 2-part ad, we're introduced to 6 different foods, each auditioning for certain movie roles in the genre of action, comedy, and romance. For the Jello, pretzel, nacho, peanut, cracker, and again popcorn seen in the short series of commercials, they're meant to represent the snacks that could be a good combo with M&M's candy. The ad appears to also have been maybe played in Malaysia as well. Given their living status and inclusion of eyes, these 6 snacks do fit the description of an M&M's EU side character, but they're no fan favorites. One more character who technically needs to be counted is the snowman seen in this 2022 UK Christmas ad. Worth pointing out is this is again an example of the M&M's characters watching a character melt to death. The more you think about it, the extended universe side of the M&M's is quite dark. A lot of pain, a lot of death, a lot of evil. As a much needed breath of fresh air, M&M's decided to introduce an actually positive and fun-loving character, that being 2017's Caramel. When first revealed to the world, Caramel was shown interviewing to become the new M&M's spokesperson, except later when seen alongside Red in a series of BET Awards commercials, he was referred to as a Spokes Candy. More specifically,
Smoothest Spokes Candy.
Caramel was introduced as an obvious representative for the at the time new caramel M&Ms, who were said to not only taste great, but also allow for a less sticky caramel experience. The character Caramel's personality could be summarized as very nerdy, very well prepared, but overall a little awkward. Like many before him, Caramel would slowly fade into obscurity until he eventually wasn't seen at all connected with the product he helped introduce. One category of M&M's related media that has yet to be thoroughly searched through is the extensive catalog of M&M's comic books. Starting in 2013 up till mid-2025, there have been 8 in total, those being Armored and Irresistible from 2013, If M Be My Destiny from 2017, Hazelnut Hysteria from 2019, Easy Does It from 2020, Time Will Tell from 2021, Mistaken Identity from 2023, Small Town Big Trouble from 2024, and finally Growing Pains from 2025. Right away, several of the books can be completely disregarded as the only M&M's characters featured are within the core 7. There are some interesting M&M shaped Iron Man suits in one, an almost countable old lady and hedgehog duo in another, and some really neat looking M&M ancestors in another, but these just aren't what we're looking for in terms of standalone characters. One comic book that does bring with it a countable M&M's EU entry is If M Be My Destiny, which is actually focused around the lovable Carmel. The story is centered around taking place in the Guardians of the Galaxy universe as a way to promote the second Guardians film releasing that same year. Prior to the physical book, you can actually see Carmel join the M&M's crew for his first ever space mission in this fun motion comic prequel on Marvel's YouTube channel. Instead of facing against Guardians specific characters / villains, they actually face a new group, the Scavengers, led by Captain Cruel. According to sources online, the Scavengers and Cruel himself have not been seen previously in any Guardians related property and are instead unique characters made for this M&M story. Their goal is to be taken seriously, but that doesn't really end up happening. Throughout the story's 2 chapters, we see the M&Ms alongside Carmel face off against the alien entourage until they eventually emerge victorious, mostly due to Carmel's quick thinking. The only other comic character worth discussion is the robot seen in Small Town Big Trouble. The robot in question, which goes under no specific name, has the sole purpose of sucking all color and happiness from wherever he goes. This is all because he was designed by engineering genius Orange to instead duplicate the happiness of the world and infuse him with it, not drain it all and keep it for himself. Through a series of events, the robot does give back to the town what it took, resulting in a happy ending for the 7 M&Ms. In the 2025 follow-up story, Growing Pains, this same robot can be seen getting accidentally shrunk by Red using an Infinity Gauntlet. Despite the M&M's surprisingly large presence in comic books, only 2 unique characters are worth inclusion on the timeline. Not even any in the 2019 comic Hazelnut Hysteria, a book solely based around ushering in a new M&M's flavor variant. This would have been the prime opportunity to introduce to the world a new member to the M&M's family. Well, it appears they actually sorta did. Seen at the end of the comic is an advertisement showing how, instead of embracing the new Spokes candy like they did many times before and after, the 5 main M&Ms decided they'd instead eat him or her down to the shoes and gloves, as a way of proving just how great the new flavor is. Before this grotesque lack of restraint, light cannibalism has been a running gag in the world of M&Ms. A casual candy pop from time to time, a lick here and there, but never a complete devourment of one of their own. You gotta wonder, what color would they have been? Were they alive when it happened? Just thinking of the possible scenarios gets morbid fast. This bittersweet end to our M&M's character search leaves us with only one group to look at before revealing the final character count, the honorable mentions. So to answer the question, how many unique M&M's characters exist currently in the standard timeline, if we roughly total all pre-Spokes Candy's characters, all the different minis, all the crazy looking inner M's, in addition to of course all individual entries, the total comes to, again roughly, 313 unique characters. Combined with the roughly 93 characters and henchmen found within the extended universe timeline, we're looking at an end total of 406 unique M&M's characters outside of the core 7 we all know and love. Will there be more, and are there some we missed from obscure commercials, ancient print ads, and or foreign toy lines? Who knows? These 2 timelines are merely the start in the search for every unique M&M's character.